Yeah, it might not look like much, but trust us, it'll cost you. Here are the 10 rarest Atari 2600 games and how much they're worth. Number 10, Extraterrestrials. In what might be the single funniest entry on this list, Silkscreen Games Extraterrestrials, a name which will likely confuse anyone with a passing knowledge of the Atari 2600, is not the ET game you've likely heard about in landfills. In fact, only 100 copies are known to have been produced, likely because its release followed the 1983 video game crash, where stacks upon stacks of new games could be purchased for cheap, as the entire video game market was considered a fad. Extraterrestrials was apparently sold door to door for a time, before resurfacing in the 2010s. But with little knowledge of the game back then, there's little nostalgia, and that means this game will only cost you $61 complete in box. Although, now that we say that out loud, the price has probably gone up. Sorry. Number 9, Gamma Attack. There is exactly one copy of the original Gamma Attack known to exist, and apparently the asking price is somewhere in the range of $500,000. We're trying to keep the supply and demand of this list a little more flexible, so we're actually going to be discussing the reproduction collector's edition from 2008, which sold for $299 complete in box. Now that it's out in the wild though, those exact same copies can fetch upwards of $1,000. But for those who acted fast, they're sitting on a growing nest egg. But is the game any good? It's alright. UFO shoots tanks. Bit basic for 1983, but as you've no doubt noticed, that means that darn video game crash interrupted its release. Now at least we've got these reproductions. Number 8, Superman. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's your car payment. Long before video game special editions came into existence, there were store exclusives. Congratulations if you own the Sears store version of Superman, you've got a few $1,000s. But like we've said, we're looking at copies that are in the free market, and if you want a complete in-box of the Big Blue Boy Scout, you're gonna need to cough up some Lex Luthor money, about $389 to be precise. And maybe don't? This game is not good, mostly involving picking up criminals and putting them in jail. Is that due process, Superman? What exactly were the crimes they were committing here? Again, the Atari 2600 still has some bangers, so we're not dogging on the classics, but this Superman game, this is really rough early game design. Number 7, River Patrol. If you thought 1983 was a bad year for games, what the heck was Tiger Vision doing putting out River Patrol in 1984? Unlike most of the games on the list, this one's actually alright. A mix between River Raid and Lunar Landing. Players are pushing against a current with the boat engine while trying to catch the descending citizens in need, requiring precision and waving around the game over obstacles. You've got game design. You've got an original concept. Now how about $832? You got that? Because if you don't get a complete in-box River Patrol. Sorry, I didn't mean to get your hopes up. Number 6, Mangia. To anyone who said the Atari 2600 was boring, have a look at Mangia, a game which is entirely comprised of a boy and his mother in a kitchen. While she feeds him a growing table of food, he is expected to eat. Rather than disappoint his mother, the boy can eat until he explodes, which, probably disappoints his mother too. Or you can cleverly toss the food to animals on the floor or in the window, because animals can't explode from overeating, only humans. This game is $1,249. Why? Well, as we've just shown, this is an insane concept for a game, and it would be a tough sell today, let alone back when people were still grasping with space shooters. That's a shame, because if things worked out, we could all be playing Mangia 8 on the PlayStation 5. Darn. Number 5, Pepsi Invaders. You know what? I'm just gonna say it. This is far and away the best game on the list. Sure, it's just Space Invaders by the Coca-Cola Company with an aggressively anti-Pepsi stance, but man, this is a pitch-perfect Space Invaders on the 2600. It's a shame that there are only 125 copies produced, apparently as some sort of giveaway at conventions, because this is one of the better playing shooters on the whole console. Don't believe us? Well, just go get $3,500 together, and then you can buy yourself a copy. No? Why not? You must be a Pepsi fan. Number 4, Elis Ladder. Far and away, the worst game on our list is Elis Ladder. It's math. Math. You like math? Well, hopefully not too much, because this game doesn't really get into double digits. We're talking dull for a 6-year-old math. Here's some more numbers. $5,419. Yep, that's complete in box. Apparently this game did come with an extensive collection of stickers and other activities, so it's not just the game card itself that fetches the price. Still, if you spend that much on a game, yeah, alright, maybe you do need to sit down and work on the math. Let's learn some number skills. Number 3, Out of Control. I just think we need to open up with the pun. Talk about out of control, the price. That's right, this game is $6,008. You can be the proud owner of a pretty ho-hum game. It's not that the mechanics are bad, far from it. The push and pull of spaceships inertia is very well done, and that's a trick not often pulled off on an Atari 2600, but Nah, the state of design is just there. You can loop around, and as mentioned, the controls are well done, but to what end? There's no sense of goals, just hanging out control, more like it. Number 2, Red Sea Crossing. Okay, now we're getting into larger figures. Red Sea Crossing is a fairly well done prototype of a platformer. In it, players take control of Moses, leaping over fish and arrows to cross the Red Sea to freedom, and 40 or so years of wandering. The less of the 2 original copies were sold at somewhere in the range of $10,400, which was a while back, so this one is sure to grow in value. That is, unless someone tracks down the other 98 copies floating around in the wilderness. But you probably got a better chance of discovering the Ark of the Covenant than find one of those. Number 1, Air Raid. Who could ever forget Mennovision? Well, most people actually, which is why only a few copies of Air Raid, their only game, are known to exist. We won't beat around the bush. This game has the insane asking price of $33,433. So what do you want? Down payment on a house or River Raid? The choice is yours. Personally, I'm gonna go with the house, as River Raid just isn't that good. There's a mode where your bullets trace your movement, that's kind of interesting, but the sprites are too big, and frankly, there were a plethora of better shooters on the system, including some on this list. But if you're building a museum, yeah, I guess, go for it. And there you have it, the 10 rarest Atari 2600 games and how much they're worth. Thinking about going into the attic? Have a copy of Pepsi Invaders stashed away somewhere? Well, that's okay, we won't tell. So let's stick around here on Game Rant. We've got plenty of lists that you can look at, and it won't cost you a penny. How nice.